All right, folks. This is Miss Bosi, and today we're going to be talking about Native American cultures. Again, prior to European contact. So, scientists refer to the first. Scientists refers to the first humans to live in the Americas as Paleo-Indians, which means Indians who existed for centuries, sort of old Indians. Scholars believe that Paleo-Indians came from Siberia, which is a region in Northwest Asia, sort of the very far western reaches of what is now Russia. They disagree, however, about when and how the Paleo-Indians arrived to North America. So there are two main theories. The first theory is the land bridge theory, which puts the arrival at about 15,000 years ago. And the theory is that due to global sort of climate change, sea levels went down. So you had low sea levels due to a climate change event. And what happened in this area over here was that it allowed for a land bridge to open up between Northwest Asia over here and the Americas. And scientists and anthropologists believe that they were chasing mammoths as a food source. And so that's why they migrated along that area to the Americas. So the other theory is the coastal route theory. Now, the coastal route theory puts this at about 40,000 years ago, as opposed to the land bridge theory, which is about 15,000 years ago. And it has about equal weight with scientists, historians, and anthropologists in terms of what, in terms of the land bridge theory. They believe this is equally plausible. They believe that peoples migrated from Asia along the coast to settle at various parts on North and South America. They would have migrated in small boats to cross the Pacific Ocean, the Bering Sea, etc. And they would have been following and hunting fish and some small whales. That would have been their sort of food sources as they move forward into the Americas. So you have a few different, factors here. You have a warming climate. This is between about 12,000 and 10,000 years ago. You have climate change, climate warming, like we do now. And as a result of that, ocean levels rose. And all of that climate change led to the emergence of what's called megafauna, which are large animals. And they were hunted to extinction by these Paleo-Indians. And so they had to adapt to their new environment. So they had to find new food sources. And so they hunted elk, they hunted deer, that's supposed to be okay. They hunted deer, they gathered fruits, and berries, and that's how they adapted to their new environment. They had hunted all this stuff to extinction, and so they needed to find new food sources, so that's what they did. So then about 3,500 years ago, moving forward in time, in central Mexico, Native Americans developed agriculture, which was a significant leap forward for civilization in the Americas. They learned to domesticate, which means essentially to grow on their own. Plants such as maize, which is corn, squash, and beans. And collectively, they constitute essentially a complete protein, which is everything that you need to survive in terms of foodstuffs. And as a result of this food production, they were able to create, because they were able to domesticate all of this stuff, you end up with a surplus. You have more food than you need. And as a result of the surplus, you get significant population growth in these Indian societies, and you get permanent settlements as a result of a food surplus. which all of that then leads to the development of cities. So these permanent settlements grow into large cities. So in Mexico, you have the Mayas and the Aztecs, who we've talked about briefly. We talked about them last week. And they are going to build exceptionally advanced civilizations. They are by far way more advanced than the Europeans who existed at the same time. Way more advanced. So you have the Mayans, who are living in this area over here. And then you have the Aztecs, who are living in this area over here in the green. So as far as agriculture goes, it's spread into North America from South America. So agriculture spread from South America into North America. And ultimately, it's going to, as it goes to other places, other places are going to continue to hunt and gather if agriculture is not available to them because of climate or whatever the case may be. So in conjunction with all of this agricultural advancement, you have diverse cultures that are emerging in what would later become the U.S. So in the different regions, the Native Americans had different types of homes and clothes. A lot of that, again, depended on climate and resources that were available to them. They had different foods, again, dependent on climate. They developed different traditions. A lot of that was centered around, a lot of those traditions were centered around what natural things were provided for them. And they spoke hundreds of different languages. And when I say hundreds of different languages, I mean 375 plus different languages. And all of these different cultures constitute essentially Native Americans. So people who lived here and are native to these two continents, North and South. So at about 1500, this is what the Native American culture map looks like. So you have a few different regions. You have the subarctic here, and it tells you a little house they lived in, the igloo. In the plateau, they have plank houses like that. In the Great Plains, they lived in teepees, which were mobile, that could be collapsed, and traveled with them as they moved across hunting buffalo. In the Southwest, they had the adobes, which were made out of clay, because that was the resource that was available to them in the dry, arid climate of the Southwest. In the Southeast and in Northeast, you have the longhouse, built out of material that is equally available to them in both of those regions. As far as game, you have, Great Plains and, northern Canada and stuff. They're primarily the subarctic. They're hunting buffalo. And, the coastal regions, they've got their fish and shellfish, and sea mammals. And then in the Southwest and Southeast, Northeast, etc., they are also being able to sustain agriculture due to the fact that they have the climate and resources available. So what's next? 1.02, Native American Cultures Activity. So you're going to open the text to Topic 1, Lesson 1, Text 2, and that is linked on Classroom. Your job here is to describe the 5 primary regions of Native American cultures. So the Southwest, the Mississippi Valley, the Great Plains, the Northeast, and the woodlands, or the Northeast woodlands, the Northeast woodlands, and the Southeast woodlands. You must include details about all of them. Make sure you include the following in each description. Make sure you include climate, their food and diet, their settlement type, how they house themselves, and then any other cultural features. So, do they engage in trade? What kind of government structure did they have? Okay? So, but the most important part here is the details. This is what I want to make sure that you do, that you are specific in your descriptions, okay? That's the most important thing. And if you have any questions, please let me know.